So the schools must teach students to be critical, the universities must teach students to be critical, everybody must be critical, and that includes everything else straight with it. But it does not mean that we are subversive to anything. This is how we have to develop as a society. So on that note, I would thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Makmurat, thank you very much. My idea of introducing you as a proponent of future study is to let the audience see what are the new components that we might have, and then probably include that in the curriculum for the future. Now, Tan Sri Asha Ayub just now mentioned about leadership development and including it inside the curriculum. How do you teach leadership? How do you include it inside the curriculum? Should leadership be included in the curriculum before it can be learned? Do you learn leadership even before you go to school? Do you learn leadership from the day you were born? I would just like to ask maybe if Tan Sri can elaborate a little bit about how leadership sometimes perhaps may not necessarily be within the structured formal teaching environment, but may be part of it or complementing it. Tan Sri?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think if you look at my presentation, when I talk about the study of leaders and leadership, is that I think what we should do, university, should write a composition of each person whom we regard as being successful in Malaysia. I did mention example like Tun Raja Moha, Governor Bank Negara. For example, like if you read about Tun Dr. Ismail, there's already a book. That's in other words, we should be teaching people to read what these previous leaders have done. Whether they have done good or bad thing, that's another issue. But I think we should try and focus. At the moment, very few writing on these leaders. Macam kata, we can always write on Datin Fadila, what she has done. And this is one, another, you expose, whether it is at school or university. It's the most important thing is the reading. I think as a student, whether you're in the university or whether in school, I think the question of reading is very important. For lack of reading, and that is why if you read my book, The Second Chance, I didn't get through at the University of Singapore because the only book I read on English literature was the Malayan Readers and one or two Lamb's Tale from Shakespeare. So I could do the English literature of Coleridge, Wordsworth, and of course I did Robert Louis Stevenson's. So there's not reading. That's the reason why when I realized, and I did very little history as well, I offered 2 subjects in the University of Singapore in 1949. So when I look back, that was the cause, I should say, the reason why I feel there's not enough reading. And coming from the rural areas, maybe don't blame the rural areas. I can always blame myself because I didn't read much. But people who join me in that group, they come from Victoria Institution, they come from PFS, Penang Free School, and these people have read a lot. And in terms of mathematics, because I was good at it, people like from Chung Ling High School. Now this is the more important, the whole idea of this mentioning about leadership is that people should read more about the leaders. If I ask some of the students today, how many people have read about Dr. Mahathir or anybody, or Tun Dr. Ismail's book? Because book may be a bit costly. One of the things is that acquisition of knowledge must be through reading, whether it's newspaper and so on and so forth. But I think this is my concept of studying for leadership, is that you should read what are these leaders are doing. It may include certain line of history and so on. But then in the school, there is always a specific, dia pakai textbook. So if you confine yourself textbook, your knowledge is very limited. So that's my idea of concept of leadership. And of course, at the higher level, for example, the university can teach, can expose courses on leadership. And I believe Harvard has got his School of Public Admin, Kennedy School and so on. And these are the time maybe we should already, because maybe Tan Sri Azman ada kat sini. But he's a banker, maybe he'd like to introduce Azman School of Leadership ke apa semua sekali, some sort of an endowment. So these are probably what I have in mind of teaching leadership in school. In short, tadi dah disebut di Ahmad Murad, to say the consciousness of reading about our leaders, about Tunku Abdul Rahman, about history and so on and so forth. I hope I've answered it. Yeah.
That's a very interesting notion that you mentioned. Would you like to add something, Latin?
You know, people, politicians, other leaders, they always say, oh, you know, people are littering the city. Let's put a new subject in the school on environment, anti-littering, right?
Yeah.
Oh, now they have dada everywhere. Let's add another subject on dada. I tell you, we have so many subjects already. So I think what I would like to do, I'm talking from the perspective of school level. You know, Tan Sri? Of course, when when you are working, there will be schools like the Kennedy School of Administration and so on and so forth, where they do have courses on leadership. Actually, it's not really courses. It's, like you have debates on it, you talk about it, and you study different types of leadership by different people from different countries, different era, and so on and so forth. But I think let's change the word leadership to responsibility. That's where it starts. When you are born and you are young, a little boy, 3, 4, 5 years old, you are given a responsibility. You know, when I was young, and I think Tan Sri and also, our age, kan Tan Sri, we have to look after our adik-adik, right? We have to listen to our abang-abang, our kakak-kakak. We have to listen to the older people. We have to learn all these things. And we have to be responsible for ourselves, for our things, and so on and so forth. But nowadays, I think young people, they don't understand the word responsibility, the word tanggungjawab. They don't even know how to look after themselves. They don't even know how to sit for a test. They have to be given tips. Betul tak? Yes. Yes, there's big laughter down there. You ask for tips, you go and see your professors. Betul, Prof? Yes? You don't know how to become independent anymore. You see, you don't know the word tanggungjawab. Actually, that is also part of leadership. Tanggungjawab, responsibility. When you are young and as you get older, because just now somebody said, I can't remember now, said that you learn a few things in school and then when you come out, you learn about life. I always tell my students in school, look kids, your future and your life starts now because school is the best training ground for life. That is where you learn to make friends. That's where you learn to fight, right? And then in school, we punish you for fighting, for bullying, and then you become a politician, you send people to war. Yes, you can laugh here, because we're not in Iraq, we're not in Afghanistan, So you see, school is about life. That's where you learn to be envious, to be jealous, to fall in love. Ya tak? You learn to handle yourself, to look after your emotions, you learn to think, you learn to work in a team, you learn to be a team player. It's also like playing football, isn't it? Playing football is life. You learn to be a team player. You learn where the goal is. You learn to make signals, to pass the ball, right? You know rules, how to engage with one another, whether you can attack the fellow from the back or you feign that there's a penalty. That's life, School is where you learn all these things. When you play football, it's also about life. And then the word responsibility is part of leadership. So I go back to whatever I've been telling you just now. Think. School will just teach you to read, to count, what else? 3 R's? Read,
Reading,
writing, arithmetic. That's it. But you have to do the thinking. And it's not just in the classroom doing exams. Just now somebody mentioned about exams. Yes, exams I think is really important, you know, because it gives you a benchmark. It tells you where you are. It's important, but it's not everything. But you must also remember, if you are number 2, you are last. You must always be number 1. You must always remember nothing is impossible. I tell my kids that all the time. You must challenge your mind, strengthen your body in terms of not really becoming champions, but the body of the community and the society. And you must nurture your soul. You must learn about a healthy lifestyle, doing community work, appreciating good music, good dance, good things in life, doing good things to other people, good values. So the mind and body and soul must be well balanced before you can put somebody as your leader or before you become a leader to other people. Okay?
Is there on what you're saying, is there a difference then? Do you learn, I'm back to my question, do you learn leadership in class or do you learn outside of class? Now, if I may just divulge a little bit of what we have been discussing. We were saying, now if you, all of you are students, we were all one students, we are probably still learning also. You're in a class, right?
You must never stop learning.
That's right. And so, usually when you do your learning or you do your studying, it is an individual thing, right? You are competing basically not really with other people, but with yourself. Now, when is the time that you actually exercise your talent for leadership?
No, but I think you don't say you exercise your talent for leadership. People will make you a leader if you have that, you know. And I think it is in you. It's not like you read something, say, oh, I'm going to be a leader, I must do this, and then I'm a leader, you know. You see, a long time ago, I think, if, masa dulu lah, you know, if you're during the caveman time, you know, if you're the strongest, the most powerful, they make you the leader, right? Because you can protect the other people, so you become the leader. And then after that, if you can read a little bit, you know, then the clergyman become the leader because you are clever a little bit, you know, and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
because the time requires such a person. So I don't think you can say that this is the curriculum for leadership in the sense that, you know, you must do
That's the
A, B,
point I'm
C,
trying
D,
to
E,
make,
F,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but this, I think it's something that you must nurture in you, and other people will make you the leader.
Yep, that's the point I'm trying to make. The thing is, like when you go into class, it's an individual thing. When you go out of class, when you go into your extracurricular activities, when you go into your sports or other games, that's when you actually exercise these abilities, or when people actually recognize your talents to actually become a leader. That's when you are able to show that you can organize, that you can be a team player or a follower or leader in that sense. You could also do it in class. Nowadays they have team projects where somebody can actually lead and the rest can follow. But that's what I mean. If you cannot make it a subject by itself, it is entrenched, it is ingrained into learning responsibility, learning critical thinking, learning about leaders of the past. It's a whole package that you cannot really detract. Dr. Mahmud, you want to say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a
You want
whole
to say
misconception of having a curriculum for leadership. Leadership is being. You don't say that I want to be a leader tomorrow. It's not planned. It's being. It's not becoming. But then also, over the last many years, we see schools, business schools, especially training leadership, having leadership programs. Kadi School of Government, and Singapore we have 2 schools, Lee Kuan Yew and S. Rajaratnam. These are not places where they study leadership per se, but they study other areas. In other words, you equip yourself I think first of all with the soul. Yeah, you must have a soul to be leadership with soul.
That's right.
And then the various kinds of skills. As I say, when there's skills here, it does not mean that skills to do things, but skills to think, to foresee, to forecast.
Solve
skills
problems.
to conceptualize.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And also to every one of us, leadership is from surviving, bringing up kids, to survival among nations. That's leadership.
That's right.